Good evening, everybody. As you can see, I'm sick. So if you have any questions tonight, at Henrik, and he can read for me because I'm having a bit of a migraine, so that's why I'm in the fucking dark and shit. Uh, so if I put my glasses on, my head explodes. There's that. Also, as per usual, go and get something from Skinny Play. That's always good. Leave a like and subscribe. That helps a whole bunch in the YouTube algorithm. If you want a guaranteed answer to your topic and or question, a super chat goes a great length to keep the lights on, literally. Although today is better if they stay off for me. Anyway, come join our Discord.
Yes, we like the Discord.
Whoa, you got quiet all of a sudden, Steve.
Quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any better?
Yeah, a little bit, but not much.
Oh.
Yeah.
What the heck?
What was that?
You were fine the whole time just before.
I know.
Turn on the shy mode.
Weird. Anyway, you had a hard working week, Henrik, all against your will. You had to do stuff that was terrible to do, I take it.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. I mean, that's the reason why I've been off for 2 weeks, because we had to plan some stuff. I came home. Well, I didn't came home. I was at the airport in Poland, in Warszawa, and I got a call saying that we want to rent Silverstone to do some crazy stuff. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And then when I arrived in Copenhagen, we're gonna rent Paul Ricard to do some crazy stuff with a Formula One car. I was like, okay. A few days later, we booked Imola and we got Red Bull to be there. And we're gonna do some Viaplay originals with Max Verstappen and David Coulthard and 5 other stars. So it was just, it was crazy. And I was in charge of chase cars. So I had a car with some cameras on that we needed to film the Formula One car, and all the stars was going to set times in a Lamborghini Huracan GT3. And we had to get some good footage, and I used my week in Imola in Italy. So it was like best week of my life.
Nice.
Except for getting married, of course, and all that stuff, and having the baby, and
of course. But I mean, it was just the craziest thing that I've ever done. That's why I've been off for 2 weeks. The first week was we had to get all this planned in 1.5 weeks. With all the shootings, all the different cameras, all the different whatever cars and things. And we've been working 24/7 to get this done. And then
Even darker now.
And then this week we were doing the shooting. So I just got back on Wednesday night. This is a picture from the pit lane. It's a Porsche GT2 RS Club Sport. It's a Honda NSX, a Mercedes AMG GT4, a Ferrari Pista 488, and a Lamborghini Huracan GT3. And then, of course, over to the left, we have the Formula One from 2016, I think. The worst thing was when we came to the track, Imola was actually they thought that it was the 2022, and we were allowed to do 30 laps. And when this car turned on and we got out on track, they were like, oh, we need to stop. You get 12 laps with this car because it's the V8. And directly out to the track, there is actually a kindergarten. So, and the craziest thing was when we powered this machine up.
It's so loud.
It's so loud that the whole town got to the track to look at it, and within a few hours there were Max Verstappen banners everywhere on the track. It was just
Nice.
crazy week.
I miss those sound of those V8s and V10s and stuff. They sounded so much better than this V6 turbo stuff.
They will get back to another sound in 2024. They're working a lot of that, a lot with this, and they're working to get that sound back.
Yeah, is that just electric cars but with a stereo that plays V8 sound?
Yeah, B&O's going to start getting involved in putting the engine sounds out.
Well, that's a cable opportunity.
Yes.
Right?
God, why are you so quiet, Steve? I don't know if I did anything.
Oh, sorry, let me just see what I can sort.
No, you didn't do anything. It's also very, very low here.
Maybe it's a Skype thing.
I don't know.
Something
Any
happening.
better?
No.
But I mean, it was a crazy week, and got to meet a lot of fun people, and got to meet the stick as well,
Nice.
which was very, very big for me. And it was just, yeah, it was, the like. You gave it a like, thank you. I mean, it was very, very cool. And of course, it was some kind of history as well, because we had the Honda NSX on Imola. Imola was the track where Ayrton Senna lost his life in the first corner. And he was a big part of the 90s Honda NSX. He did the suspension and the camper and the chassis stuff on together with Honda on this. So it was kind of a history getting around the new Honda NSX on track as well.
Did you get to drive it?
Not the Honda NSX. It was a privately owned car in Denmark, and he bought it as an investment in mind. So it only had 2,500 kilometers on the clock. And yeah. So it was only
white.
It was only one guy that had to drive this, because we need to figure out how fast this car was compared to a Honda driven for Formula One car.
Slow.
You have to watch the Viaplay original when it airs in November.
Wait,
December.
so did this guy like fly it over, or did he drive it down?
No, we got all the track cars from Denmark on a lorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And it was just delivered.
Nice. Obviously didn't drop any, so that's good.
We only broke one thing, and that was the Lamborghini, the green one.
What did you break?
We burned out the clutch. I think I sent you a video file of it, where we actually burned out the clutch. I wanted to do some cinematic shots where we got some smoke,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on slicks. And
Oh yeah, the clutch is gonna lose in that case.
the clutch was getting very, very hot at the end, and yeah, we had to tow it back. But I mean, that was the only thing we broke, so that was good. It was a 7-plated carbon clutch.
Wow, that you managed to burn that out is quite amazing.
If you look at the video, you will see how we break it.
How you did it? Shit.
But yes, it was a very, very fun week. Very, very great track. I mean, I've been trying a lot of track days, but I mean, driving Imola was just like it's on the bucket list, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, yeah, it was a fantastic week. A lot of work, but yeah, that's why I've been off. So
Makes sense.
Cheers.
I'd be off for this too. It's like, goodbye, everybody. See you in a month.
Exactly. So, did you end up with the theater yet or no, Mikey? Is it put in together? I can't see anything. It's so dark and shit.
Yeah, sorry. It's I'm semi-dying over here.
So, what's your thoughts? Like, especially like now that you have it in the house. Like, obviously the acoustics that you know.
Hold on. Let me get some an image up. The acoustics, they're just better than the harmony. It's not close.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing the harmony does excel at for now is usability. And
How so?
well, setting up everything in an app is beyond that. It's strange. The app is so counterintuitive now. It's really, really strange to deal with if you're used to BeoVisions.
That's the joys of Mozart, isn't it? Everything's in the app.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad if the software was I don't know, a bit more mature, and by that I mean like a month or two. But so in setup you can identify your power links, right? And I did on the third try, actually, with updating and going to beta and whatnot, I got the second speakers to show up. Because before, this whole bottom section wasn't showing up. So, like, normally there's a plus here, so you can add your speaker or your power link out, and you search for what you have on it, and you put BeoLab 50. And then underneath, there's another plus, and then you add your other BeoLab 50.
Yeah, because it's left and right on the PL, right? Well,
the first two tries, nothing showed up there. So I thought, okay, well, I didn't really know, because when I set it up at my dealer, it was a simple setup. It was with 18s and a 19, and they were each on their each individual power link. So it's just plus, 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 and you're there, right? But since I have them all occupied, I didn't know there was like this hidden second thing. So I just thought, oh, it assumes it's pairs.
A pair, yeah.
Well, it didn't. So I'm sitting here tuning everything, and it just takes all the left speakers. And it's like, God damn it. So I have this weird surround sound where, like, you have left 50, and then the right side of the theater is doing the right wide.
That's weird. That's funny.
And but it did it for the 18s as well, and so it's like, God, I wish that was smoother.
Mikey?
Yeah.
Is there a list of available BeoLab speakers on the theater? Are you able to choose the BeoLab 4000, for example?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, that list is so long.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still very quiet, Steve.
Right, let's see if I can sort this. Let's turn the level up.
Oh, that's
The funny thing is
now, surely.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
It's still not loud, but it's at least audible.
But yeah, BeoVox 1 and BeoVox 2 are on there, as well as every single BeoLab.
Okay.
So yeah, 4,000, 3,000, 5,000, you name it, they're on there.
There was a question in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I personally think is a bit strange. So for some reason, they chose to do that alphabetically instead of order of release. So one of the first few things is BeoLab 7.1, 7.2, 7.6.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, why are these all in here at the top? Because to get to BeoLab 50, you're literally scrolling through all the list of available speakers and each variation thereof.
Oh, man.
So,
there's no search column or search bar that you can just type in what you have?
I don't know, actually. I didn't look close enough, and my head hurts, so I don't remember at the moment.
No, I didn't see a search function, but there's just a list to scroll. I think from memory, it does auto-suggest some of the newer speakers.
Interesting.
It didn't for me.
Ah.
Yeah, we just got it set up in the shop as a standalone, but we got a couple more. So tomorrow actually is a big day in the store because we're redoing a whole bunch of stuff, and we're putting a Harmony 83 in as well.
Yeah.
But
so that's going to be a fun day.
This is what the measurement came back with automatically.
Insane.
And it's down to the centimeter, which is interesting. So I'm going to measure that probably tomorrow or something with a laser measure thing. Because my
how far?
Yeah, my laser measure is accurate to 2 millimeters, so see how close they actually are.
Yeah. And that's obviously to the microphone, right?
Yes. But I can like literally tap it to the microphone and
yeah, exactly.
See how close stuff is.
Well, it looks like it's pretty accurate to me.
Yeah. I am a bit confused why so much is in the minus dB, though. I'll have to measure that with a dB level too.
But it kind of makes sense because you have 3.5 dB minus at a speaker that is 1.7 meters away from you compared to a speaker that is the right back that is 4.29 meters away, and that is at 0 dB. So the calibration kind of makes sense because the speakers that are close to you is minus.
I mean, I must say, once it all works, it sounds bloody amazing. And I've been listening for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, to just the theater in this room. And it's that extra bit that the stage couldn't do in a room this size that I think I could potentially live with the theater on its own.
You're going to sell the 50s?
No, but it's a massive step up, as into. I mean, it's incredible for this room. I mean, you notice that you don't have back speakers. That's for sure. There's no virtualizing that out of reality in the room this size. But at 50, 60-ish% volume, it's kind of like, do I need everything on? It's actually quite good on its own.
Yep. I mean, I just had a BOTF event this Friday with 50-ish people at a dealer to test it out, to try it out, and we had that the theater that was broken into every part and pieces, and we tried everything out, and I mean, it's very, very, very boomy. I mean, I can't imagine how much bass that can come out of that.
You've got to turn the loudness off.
Yeah, but it's still amazing. And I have a video coming out on Thursday, and the only downside I have to the theater was that I do believe that maybe they squeezed in too many speakers into the cabinet, because when everything goes crazy, the vocal and the voices get a bit muffled compared to the harmony. And we did an A/B test of this. Take The Greatest Showman as an example. If you take the intro scene from The Greatest Showman, it's in a circus theater, and Hugh Jackman is singing a song, and he has his cane and he drops it on the floor, and it's just like woof. And I mean, the theater was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And I was like, is the 50s on? And it was only the theater, but the vocal was very like this, like very muffled. But when we got to the harmony, we didn't get the bass and the boominess, but we got the precision and the very sleek voice of and vocal of the scene. And in my opinion, and many others, it sounded a whole lot better on the harmony compared to the theater, because the theater has the sound of the sound dynamics of the stage and the 28s. But the harmony was just so much more precise in this. But I have to say that this is just a calibrated version, set up and out of the box. I would like to test it myself before.
Could it be the room? Because mine isn't that woofy and bassy here at all like that. It's actually quite smooth.
I don't believe so, because we had a baffle wall behind it. So I don't believe that. But I have to test it myself, and I have to use a few hours to tweak it to see if it's right or wrong. But everything else, I mean, this is a beast.
Oh, yeah. But I find harmony is set up perfectly out of the box, whereas theatre, like the 28s, it needs the bass dialing back and a bit of treble putting back in, and then it's spot on.
I do believe that's true. I didn't have the time because we had 50 people that I also had to talk with. And I wanted to mingle more than doing specific stuff. So I have to somehow try to get B&O to send one to test it out. So I can do my own verdict on this and do an in-depth review. But out of the box with the calibration, it sounded worse than a harmony out of the box. But the whole girthiness and the whole width of the soundstage, it was amazing. And I have to say that this soundbar with a pair of 28 as surround sounds, you're done.
Which is insane if you think about it.
Which is insane.
You have $20,000 speakers for the rears and a $10,000 soundbar as a front. Like, to me, that's just, it's so ass backwards.
Yeah,
the thing is,
I agree.
Literally.
4,000 as the rears, and it will still sound almost as good. You don't need that much behind you.
I think 18s would do just fine for the rears, in my eyes, for a small room.
Coming back to the bassiness and whatnot, what you just said, I recognized that. But I recognized that from last night, because last night I was listening to it mostly untuned, uncalibrated, and it was very woompy, so to say, even on sports and stuff. Like I was watching Match of the Day, and like the people that were like clapping and stomping songs in stadiums. Like, it was very, very bassy to the point where it's like, oh, it's nighttime, I better turn this down. But once calibrated, here anyway, maybe it's because there's quite a lot of sound deadening stuff in the room, that it's actually smoother than the 28s to me.
Oh, it's not to me.
Yeah, see, I find it really similar to the 28 sound, but just a fraction less bass.
It's similar, sure, but it's not so. It doesn't attack the bass as hard as the 28s do. Like, the 28s are like full on, like, bass now.
Yes.
With everything.
I don't agree. I don't agree. If you take the 28 and you turn off loudness, you're golden.
Yeah.
You still need to dial the bass down, I reckon, a couple of notches. On
I have loudness off and bass -2 at the moment on the 28s.
Yeah, I agree. You have good ears, my friend.
Yeah, I have take a little bit of a backwards approach here.
I have bad ears. Mine is at loudness off and -1, and then +3 at the treble.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I reckon with the theatre, I reckon it needs one notch more bass than the 28s. So 28s, I do the same as Michael. I go -2 bass, 0 treble. But you can, if you like a little bit more treble, go -1 bass, +1 treble. But yeah, we're all different. All our ears are different. You've gone for a couple more notches. But on the theatre, I'd put the bass just one notch higher than on the 28s for the same music or the same movie.
The one thing that, by the way, annoys the shit out of me, and this is not B&O related, this is LG related, is apparently you can't use the App Store anymore without having an LG account.
Nope.
And it's like, the first thing you obviously need is the B&O app, but you have to log into your LG account, and there's no way to do it without an email address. And it's like, oh, this is so annoying.
Yeah. This is like trying to set up a GVA balance without Google Home. So,
Yeah.
I wish that B&O could just do this all themselves, but they can't.
I mean, and
Order a non-GVA, basically. That's the only option, honestly.
And supposedly there is a hacky way to do it, but LG may have taken it away in the last firmware update. But whenever you turn this panel off, you see a massive LG logo saying "Life's good."
No, you can hack that. You can take that off, yeah.
Not anymore. I can't get into that secret menu.
Even with spamming the mute button.
It doesn't work.
Whoa.
Some people say you may have to take it off. What you call it? eARC pass-through mode. You have to get it back to the speaker, normal TV speakers. But once you install the B&O app, it auto defaults to eARC mode. Even if you set it to TV speakers, it just flips back to eARC.
Yeah, because it knows that it's what's playing through it.
So I'm so tempted to just factory default the TV and see if I can make it work that way, because that's so annoying.
Put an HDMI 1.4 cable in that won't support ARC, but leave it in eARC mode. See if that would do it. Then maybe it will fall back.
No. At least if it works like a C9, no. Because the B&O app makes some changes to the firmware of the TV.
Right.
So did you change the TV as well, Mikey?
Yeah, it's an 83-inch C2 now.
Okay. So you went full retard.
Yes.
No, 97's full retard.
And baby. What? Sorry?
You can go 97-inch on the.
Turns out that doesn't fit through the in the stairwell. Like, this barely fit through the stairwell because
that's funny. Michael reached his limits.
I mean, I think 88 actually may be too big for the stairwell here. And it's not a small stairwell either. It's like a meter 20 wide, and then a little plateau, and then so it's like, God.
I'm gonna be watching you on one of those fail videos trying to rope it on the balcony and dropping it from 12th floor.
I mean, also, don't forget that, like, when this is in a box, right, you have, like, a good 10 inches on every side with foam.
Yeah.
So 83 basically becomes 97.
Take the 97 out of the box and take your chances with it.
Oh God, I would hate to do that. keep the foam on.
What did I do with my Harmony? I traded it in, but currently it's sitting right there. They haven't picked it up yet. So it's just sitting on the wheel dolly thing, blocking all the light from my kitchen.
Nice. Did he take the panel, or just like the whole thing is just sitting there?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Nice.
Do I have a picture of that? Of course not.
Surely the Harmony would make a nice bedroom TV, about the right size.
It's not allowed to move the stage there. It's fine. I mean, maybe guest bedroom TV or something like that. But yeah, so that LG thing is weird. Also, so where you configure speakers to add and that sort of thing, that's not actually where you change speaker roles, which is really fucking annoying. The app is so unintuitive.
I think they just need to figure out how to do it. Right now, they put everything into the app, and in my opinion, it's not.
They need to sort it out properly. Yeah,
it's not categorized right now.
No.
They need to figure out how to put it into an intuitive way. But right now, they just gave you the opportunity to do everything, but it is very, very, very crazy.
Yeah, so you can go to sound settings, you think, and it's next to nothing.
What's underneath it? All the speakers that you have connected, it shows?
No,
Yeah.
that's the sound
Okay.
profiles, right?
No, on the wait.
Underneath, though. Yeah, it shows all the speakers, I think.
So underneath there is where it shows all the speakers.
Oh,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what you tap on to change speaker positions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you have to say, and then
Why would it not be all in one menu? Like, I haven't set this up because we only have it standalone for now. I'll play with that on Monday. But that is just weird.
it's funny though. It picks up the little icons for all the speakers and puts it underneath the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's being sold, and there's still certain what you call it, like the pictures of certain menus still don't load. Like no image here is still shown.
So
Mhm.
what happens if you change your 17s to 4000s? Will it just do an outline of the 4000s as it does in every other?
No, it
App?
doesn't work like that anymore. You have to go into which is in a different menu again. You have to go
No,
to.
I'm talking about you have your theater as the main thing, and then underneath you have all the speakers connected to it.
Yes,
So if you change your 17s to 4000, will it just do an outline of a 4000 or an actual picture?
an actual picture.
Cool.
It does?
Yeah,
But why?
like these are little pictures. They're just tiny pictures of the actual speakers underneath.
I know, but they don't have 4000 as a picture in their library. That's why I'm asking.
They might.
If they do,
I
then
mean,
they're
they have pictures of pentas and
Wow.
7.1s and 7.2s and 7.6s and like, and this is what was weird in the list because every speaker has a picture next to it. I didn't specifically look for 4000s, but you know how in a Harmony, if you go to the menu, you can just change the speaker default. Like if you have a 17, you can just go to the list and go down to BeoLab 4000, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that no longer works in this like that.
No.
You have to
Is it
make a new
default
speaker
back?
group, then add speakers again, then change it, and then have to recalibrate everything again.
Okay.
So you have to it's become it's and counterintuitive, and it's not as easy to work with, and it's also in different submenus.
Okay. We have Variaris who asked the question. Steve has already answered it, but let's just get it out there. He asks, can the theater only connect to BeoLabs, or is it also the Beosounds for 5.1, 7.1, etc.? And the deal is that within time, in 2023, as Steve wrote, the level, the balance, the emerge will be able to join it as different speakers as left and right front, surrounds, top speakers, ceiling speakers,
Whichever,
whatever.
yeah. Mhm.
So everything that is on the Mozart platform will be able to join this unit at the end of 2023.
Yeah, but just be careful if you're buying a new Emerge when they're re-released, because rumor has it they won't be on Mozart. They'll be on ASE.
Wait, what?
What?
I'm probably not supposed to know this, but the story I heard is, because they're short of Mozart circuit boards, the Emerge will come out as non-Mozart. No Google, which is good, but yeah, ASE.
So we'll have an Emerge Mark 1 and then the new Emerge Mark 0.5, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
God, that's going to be stupid. So the new one is worse.
Yeah.
That just sounds.
It sounds
Crazy.
something like B&O would do, yeah, but stupid.
I don't think there's anything wrong with, well, whatever. I think that Mozart platform is fine, but I don't know. The Emerge, we have
No,
the
but if the
Emerge.
Mozart thing is supported for potentially surround and other things, right? And the AC platform probably isn't.
Of course it isn't.
Yeah, then
They can't change that. And the other reason is that they went into this whole big joint venture with the company Matter to do home automations, and that is only on the Mozart platform as well.
Yeah.
So that is a no-go. Man, I love all these cables, Mikey.
Well, it's only one I need to fix.
But I love it.
Yeah. There's one more cable you need.
There's actually a reason why I did it that way. Because I hung the TV and I thought to myself, I've actually not turned it on yet, and I don't know if I have a bunch of dead pixels. So before I all wire it properly and cut the end off and that sort of thing, I might as well leave it stock and not get any shit from LG if there is something wrong with it.
I have one thing regarding this picture.
What?
If this was me doing that picture, I would be sitting in boxer shorts.
Oh, yeah. But then it would hang out on the left side.
Or the right, who cares?
Yeah, you need to get that Beosound 2 connected.
It's connected to the 50s.
Yeah, but put it into the theatre.
Which is weird that they have a USB-C to analog. You have to buy the bloody cable converter.
Yeah, Steve sells those.
Yeah. B&O apparently aren't making them, or they're only making a small number, because I was told that there's no interest in that. Nobody wants to put a Beosound or whatever into the theatre, so I'm keeping them, and that's all you need.
Wait, so nobody has an Overture 2300 they want to use, or a CD player?
Definitely not Beosound 9000, definitely not Beogram 4000C, none of that. No, there's no requirement. But yeah, loads of people are asking about these, so go figure.
That's insane.
Yeah. The only thing you need to do, though, is go into your sources menu to enable this, pick the audio input, and then just set it the type as music and switch on the auto sense, and then the USB adapter comes to life. So other than that, you can plug in the adapter and nothing happens, but you just have to go in and set the source type in the theatre menu.
Varian is asking, do you guys use Wi-Fi cable connections? Well,
Always cable.
always cable.
Yeah.
In my old apartment in Calgary, I had 18s for wireless, but it's a rear channel speaker, so who cares really? But 90s and everything in between is all wired.
Henrik, you were off the virtual screen somewhere.
You're looking for the entire podcast.
Yeah, I was like, where is Henrik? Because the source was shown and everything. It's like, but where are you? I'm not that blind.
I mean, it depends on which speaker we're talking about. I mean, I'm all for the ease of use of Weisse, and I mean, for 50s and 90s, I would definitely cable them.
Yes,
but 28 or less, I would just go Weisse.
28s do have some issues when they're wireless, particularly if you've got your 5 gigahertz and your 2.4 gigahertz networks with the same name. They have a habit of dropping out. So if you cable them, they just work.
Mine is
just putting that out there.
Mine is my 5 and 2.4 is the same name, and mine just works.
Fair enough. You're a very lucky man. No, generally they should work normally, but if you have issues, chances are it will be wireless.
Okay.
28s are sort of like depends a bit, but anything less is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I the ease of use of wireless of Weisse is just.
It's literally power plug and call it a day.
Exactly, just do it. I mean, if you're at the 50s or the 90s, that means that you're a person that takes this things.
You can afford the wire.
No. But you're a person that takes these kind of things very seriously. If you want to spend that amount of money on speakers, so you should get the best out of them. And the PowerLink sounds a whole lot better on the 50s than on Weisse. And I don't know about the 90s, but I guess it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same. So Weisse is limited at 24-bit 96 kilohertz. The power link mode is 24-bit 192 kilohertz. But more importantly than that, when WiSA, the connection isn't through the master, it's one to each speaker. And then the speakers approximate what each other are doing in terms of room compensation. When you go wired, you go to master, and the master knows exactly what the slave will do.
Yeah.
And that it just manages to compensate for the room a lot better. I mean, they don't sound bad in either way, but
it is a huge difference, honestly, acoustically. When I had them on WiSA and then I wired the 90s after, I don't know how many podcasts we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I wired the damn things, and I sat there, it's like, holy cow, it's like completely different tuning. Because they are aware of their presence in the room also, where they are in space. So I definitely, with something with that tech, I would always wire. I don't know. I'm a big proponent of wiring and cabling, because it always works. There is no what if this and what if that. I've had 18s that the WiSA antenna died in them, or the module died. The speakers, like they're on when I plug them in, but nothing's happening. And then when I plug them in PowerLink, I'm like, well, the module's dead. So there's always these variables where nobody's going to go in your fucking wall.
I mean, I
like it when Willie's on here. He talks sense.
I did it with the 50s, and I tried WiSA and I tried PowerLink, and they sounded better to an extent when listening to very precision music with PowerLink, but it was not enough for me to drill wires into the wall compared to using them with WiSA.
Your 12.3s at the rear, are they wired or WiSA?
Wired.
That makes sense. Well, also, your 28s are quite close to the screen, right? So you'll probably have less interference just because of distance and stuff.
I don't know. They have like 1.5 meter each ways.
Yeah, okay. But like from my TV to my rear speakers is like 7 meters or so.
Yeah, but the problem is that in Denmark, we don't like cables. So we need cables inside of the wall. And I don't have any cables inside of the wall right now. Because after I got rid of the 5s, I took all the cables out of the wall.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Best thing you could have done to yourself, bro.
My problem mostly is that like my neighbor's 2.4 and 5 gigahertz is literally behind the wall on that side and upstairs as well. Yeah. So WiSA can be a bit spotty, but I think I've managed to fix it by asking around and like, could you turn it off, please, if you're not using it anyway?
I mean, that it's actually a quite fun thing, because where I live, we have, if I scan the network right now, we have 50-ish access points.
Mm-hmm.
I never had any issues with WiSA, like never. It just works.
Could be country specific. I bet you it works better in the US too, because for wireless internet, there's something like 20 channels that aren't allowed to be used by default by any router. So WiSA will just happily sit in the middle there.
Mm.
Yeah, I have no issues with WiSA speakers ever that I had people had, other than, like I said, when the module dies within the speaker itself after so many years, because believe it or not, if you put the 18s to standby or anything that's on WiSA, they're never turned off, man. Like that thing is always chirping because it's always waiting for the signal to come in. Like, yo, man, you need to turn on. So these are constantly on, like constantly on.
Yeah, that's only when they're set to WPL on the switch, though, isn't it? I think it disables the WiSA module when they're set to left or right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you shut it off immediately. Yeah, once you go to left or right speaker. So
if I remember right, in North America, due to the FAA on the 5 gigahertz spectrum, from channel 122 to 142 is not allowed to be used by Ethernet modems, WiSA or Wi-Fi and that sort of stuff. So WiSA just has 20 channels to choose from to sit in the middle of.
But I think Apple started to tinker a little bit into that, or interfering.
Apple routers are the worst because they don't care about the spec; they just want to be the fastest.
That's right. They take it's sort of an ignorant approach, but I understand it. I don't give a shit if the rest of the country sinks as long as it's nice and sunny in my backyard, and that kind of screws up everybody rest. But I don't know. I'm a big proponent also of ubiquity, and quite honestly, nowadays, even here in Montreal, going to these different houses and seeing different installations, I think the bane of everybody's problem in existence is they have really poor network infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like if your network sucks, bro, like that's it. Like this thing is nowadays more important than hot water in your house, because quite honestly, if you don't have a network, you can't really email or call for hot water to be repaired. So I'm very surprised by like how they deal with it here versus how I used to deal with the network. Sorry to segue into it, but like cables are cables, and it's very important.
Especially when you have hollow walls like there. Like, why not?
Why not? You can afford to do that, and it's not even being able to afford to do that, but it's also, I think, the biggest thing that the huge disconnect is, I think, that people have no understanding really of what is going on with their network, because they don't see it, right? It's just Wi-Fi should just work. Everything should just be wireless. I'm like, but you don't understand that. Like, this is sometimes, I guess, the best analogy that I can tell people is trying to order in a drink in a busy nightclub bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's everybody screaming at the bartender, who's the router, basically, right? And he chooses either you or somebody else. Packet drops, shit is spilled, and that's, I guess, the best way to understand why your service is poor, man.
Yeah.
I think there's also a disconnect in North America, because the amount of people that think Wi-Fi means internet.
Oh my God! I actually can't believe that people do believe that here.
It's the one of the few countries where like people will literally tell you, yeah, the Wi-Fi is out. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, are you connected to the router? Yes. But nothing shows. Yeah, so the Wi-Fi is fine. Your network is down.
Yeah, no, there is a very hard understanding between
not
internet
the same
and
thing.
Outside internet and inside network. There is some people have a very hard time understanding it. I don't know why, but that's just what it is, right?
Oh, by the way, there's 88 of you here, and I don't know if you've noticed, but there's still a nice bit of plastic on the screen. So at 50 likes, I'll give you a peel.
But on the other side of the screen, so yeah, that makes 16 actual customers liking. So,
but I mean, on the other hand, B&O is very demanding on their Wi-Fi capabilities compared to if you just buy Sonos, and that's a very, very big issue. And I mean, the main problem is that B&O tries to put so much information into distributing their good sounding music like FLAC or whatever in PCM, where if you take Sonos, it compress it to MP3 and show it over the network. And of course that will work if B&O is trying to put 30 megabits a second out to every speakers, and an MP3, let's say 256K out to every speaker, that's a difference. And that's where I do believe that B&O is doing it wrong. I do believe that they should do the same as Sonos, compress the shit out of it, and then you should have the ability to turn it off if you think that your Wi-Fi is actually working quite good. If you know what you're doing, turn it off, like you can do with the 28.
Yeah, I was just going to say the 28s by default are compressed to shit.
The 28 is by default compressed, and you can take them into uncompressed if you want to. You should have that ability to every speaker at your house, because if you don't know what you're doing, it should just be uncompressed every day, and then you will be distributing.
Has got that.
What'd you say, Steve?
Every Mozart speaker has got that option. It defaults to compressed. You can tick the uncompressed box.
And it does make sense, because then you can distribute it everywhere in poor Wi-Fi and whatever. But if you know what you're doing, you can choose the uncompressed version, and then you'll get the full-blown out of your speakers. But it's a choice that you have to make. And if they did it the other way around, you wouldn't see that, oh, my B&O, I can't distribute music around it. It drops and it does everything. And I think they should do more like Mozart does, like Sonos does. And I think that is the right way to do, because you need to do the entry level kind of stuff. But if you want to take it next level, you should be able to do that as well.
Yes.
I kind of agree and kind of disagree. But I do agree with you having, let's say, like my M3 in the bathroom in my apartment when I was there. There's no rhyme and reason for it to push a freaking FLAC teaser file into it while I'm having shower.
Agreed.
Also in the Beosound 2 or Beosound 1, like I had it in the bathroom. Like that doesn't. There's no way you'd ever tell that it's a lossless file from that thing, right?
Yep.
Versus a 360 kilo or 320 kilobyte a second MP3 compression. Like I watched during the pandemic, right, when we were all locked down in the house. So I just had the entire system was turned on the entire day, and I turned on the monitor on the Ubiquiti to see how much traffic. It's gigabytes, bro. It's gigabytes of traffic internally from the moment that was pushing into the network or a BeoLink into the whole house. Like I was at, I think at the end of the day, in 12 hours of playback, I think I was at 7.8 gigs of traffic.
Yep, and that's if you have the ASE products like the Beosound 1, the Beosound 2, and the A9, A6, whatever. Yes. It is a lot of...
It's a lot lighter load on the router
It is
network.
A lot of traffic that's going on. And it's only in the Mozart world that you can actually do a drawback on the bandwidth. And they should have done that to begin with. Because, I mean, that's why Sonos is so popular. Because it just works. Everything you hear about multi-room at B&O is, I have dropouts. One of my speakers has dropouts. And all they do is they contact their dealer. And the dealer says, well, that's because of your Wi-Fi. And then they get new Wi-Fi, and then it sometimes works, and it's just the circle of.
I must say, Ubiquiti solves a heck of a lot of that.
I do agree, but it's still, they should have done this to begin with, like Sonos have done. I mean, Denon has done it as well with the Heos stuff.
But do you not think that maybe there is some sort of a little bit more of a stumbling around patents from other companies that they lock that particular tech down to the point where if you're going to do that, now you have to reinvent another wheelbarrow wheel, right? Where there's already one, but you know.
They need a possibility to transcode it into an MP3 file, and that's it. And that's not a cost.
Maybe they gave it up for a reason, because the last thing that was transcoding capable was a BeoMaster 5. If you were to link it to a DLNA media server, you can transcode the WMA files into MP3, so outside world could actually understand it and play it.
Probably, I don't know, but it's something. It's still something that they should have done and should have thought of.
So. I don't know. I honestly, maybe it's just I'm a different when it comes to even selling the B&O to people, because I also look at it from a very technical perspective, and I see the whole picture in the house. When I walk in, I'm not just there to dump a whole bunch of speakers and make the biggest profit margin off you and whatever. At the end of the day, once you buy B&O, not just from me, but from a B&O story, like these people are with you around for life, right? It's just what it is. So why fuck around to begin with? No, we're going to do this properly. First of all, let's just look at your network. I want to see under the skirt of your house what's going on, what obstacles we got, and then we go from there. Because if I sell you all this stuff and you're running it off of your a crap provider network box, then your experience is going to be terrible, you know?
But the other thing is, Willie, that B&O has actually put this into their app. And it says, oh, you have full bars of Wi-Fi, but it still fucks up.
Well, because it measures the strength, not the integrity and speed of it.
That's another problem.
But that's also a misconception to a lot of people have, because I have full bars. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like sometimes you drop out when you're downtown here, and you drop a call. It doesn't mean that you don't have signal. It means that the network you're on is busy, and it just drops your IP, basically, right?
I agree. I totally agree, but the problem is that they put it into their app, so now the customer can say, "Well, in your app, it says that everything is good."
Yes, and it's perfect, but at the end of the day, it's not, right? So it's like I said, it's a misconception, and I think it's a bit misinforming fact that you have that. But then again, not everybody's a network engineer. Not everybody's, not everybody does that, and a lot of people don't do that. Like,
speaking
you know what I mean?
Little annoyances. I used the provided B&O wall bracket for the theater in this picture, and I was very careful, and I had my, what did you call it, a bubbler or whatever it was?
The bubble stick.
the spirit level out.
Spirit level.
Yeah, well, the proper name for it. And then you have that piece of paper, and you hang it, and you go, and then, more tape, and get it perfect, and make holes and stuff. And then I hang it and put the bubble stick back on, and it's perfectly level. And you hang the theater, and the left side is 4 mil lower. It's like,
what?
Wow!
God damn it!
How is that?
I don't know. I think it's the pegs inside the theater on which it hangs.
Hey, Mikey, go down to the hardware shop and ask for a new bubble for your bubble meter.
Good sir, I need some bubble fluid.
let's just get some questions. Let's get some questions out of the way. Serge is asking if the user interface in the theater will also be available on the LG screen, like in other TVs, like the Harmony and Eclipse. That will not happen, and I think that the Harmony and Eclipse will be the last two TVs, and the Contour with the on-screen. No, not the Contour. Sorry, where the Eclipse and the Harmony will be the last two TVs with the on-screen menu. All other TVs from now on will be app-based, in my opinion. Yes. Please join in if anybody has anything to say, or I will go to the next one.
I think you're correct.
Alan Olsen asked if he should use. He always used the visor on his 18. It works fine. From your experience, will it sound better if, I think he means if he cables it? It doesn't matter. As we said before, I would say from 50s and upwards. Maybe you guys have to chip in, but 50s and 90s, cable them. 28s, do you have anything to
I would personally wire 28s if you can, but it's a bit more, how much do you care?
Yeah. And then you can look into the spec sheets of the 28s and see how many kilohertz it will take and how many kilohertz the visor will provide you, and it is pretty much the same. But everybody has difference of an opinion.
I mean, if your source input is CD, 16-bit 96 kilohertz, it doesn't matter anyway, because Weiser will carry that.
That's right.
And then Peter is saying that after he changed his network, which is super important, everything has just been, all problems with connection has gone. Yeah. So that is very good. Then we have one last question from Vlad. He says, does the theater room compensation improves on the sound of 2850s, etc.? And yes, it does. Like
28s are already at that level. But
go, Steve.
No, you reckon 28s are better when they're used with a theater?
Like a lot better. The only thing that I take into consideration is that you do room compensation on the 28s, you do room compensation on the theater, then you do room compensation on the surrounds of the theater, and I think it's way too much room compensation.
You're overcompensated.
Because in my opinion, the only thing that I would like to compensate before doing the whole setup is the subwoofer. But maybe the theater is just taking care of the subwoofer in all the speakers and then do the calibration. I don't know.
It should be.
Yeah.
But I don't think it works anymore like that with the new bass management, because it
uses all the speakers.
It uses all the speakers to the maximum bass that they can potentially produce themselves. So, which is very nice. It makes everything sing to their full potential instead of just diverting the most to the most capable.
So then here's an interesting question. Would it make more sense to just leave the 28s in factory default?
You can't. You can't.
It won't let you?
I don't think you can.
No, you can skip the compensation when you go through the original setup. Or you can go
No, you're right, you can't.
App and you can reset it. You can try it without compensation.
But then you have to do the initial setup, and then you have to then you have to turn it off and reset them.
No, you don't have to compensate it.
Okay.
You can skip that step in the app.
I don't know, and it will be nice to know. I will definitely test it out. I don't know. Serge is asking, will there be a Harmony Mark II with the same technology as the theater then?
If they're going to keep it as their flag screen, they kind of owe it to themselves, but I wonder.
I don't think it's a flagship anymore, sound quality wise, and
I do believe that the Harmony is still the flagship because of the B&O-ish showcase.
But that's not enough. It hasn't got the sound now to match the theatre.
In my opinion, it did sound better in a few test sequences. But yeah, I don't know. But Serge, we don't know. Maybe it will be on the Harmony. Personally, I don't believe so.
I don't see it happen, because where do you put the control panel, obviously, for the Mozart platform? Like, there is only so much limitation that you have. Like, would you interpret it into one of the grills? Then the grills are going to be stupid expensive, because, like, you're going to have the panel on one side, and then when they fall, you have to have it just like the logos on two corners, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that makes any sense, other than what they're going to include a halo with it, so you can control it within. Halo doesn't have enough capability for you to browse music and do anything really anyways. So I don't see that as a I don't think that Harmony is gonna be around and die its graceful death, and then there's going to be another generation of something that they're gonna come up with. Personally, I really hope that they are going to stay within the realm of, like, we still have a TV that is connected physically to a B&O product that will remain as a BeoVision. And we don't just stray away and now this is a soundbar making company, because that kind of feels bad. But I do believe that they should do something that is obviously the Mozart platform, because at the end of the day, the Harmony is gonna start dying with its limitations, where you won't be able to connect, let's say, the levels as the rear channels type of thing, right? And let's say 5 years or 2 years down the road, whenever they decide to do this.
Owner?
For rear back surrounds, if you have a couple levels, why not?
Yeah,
Sure.
I guess it's just a different customer in my mind.
Sure. But we have another one. Michael Christensen is asking, I want to room compensate my whole life. That is called active noise cancellation, and that will work for you.
Speaking of that, by the way, with the 28s, before I forget, the biggest difference with the room compensation from the theater to the 28s is that you have a microphone in an actual specific spot. Like the way the 28s compensate for the room is generic. There's not a specific spot in the room like with the 50s. But through the theater, that kind of gives you that option.
Yeah. I mean, the 28s, when they're in a pair, will calibrate from the two different positions, and they're effectively trying to make a 3D map of the room, almost the way a sonar does. And the theatre is doing that as well, from every speaker position plus the microphone. So the more positions you can map from, the better you get.
Yeah, more speakers you have, the better the sound you get, basically.
Yeah. So
another question, is it worth buying a B&O subwoofer with the theater? In my opinion, it depends on which speakers that you connect to the theater, and it depends if you want to use your theater as a soundbar. If it's a soundbar, no no need for a subwoofer. If you put it with the 28s, for example, no need for a subwoofer.
Need is very personal, though. If you really want to like rumble and rock out, then we can't answer that. I would generally agree there's no need to. But if you want every fucking thing in the house to shake, then go for it.
I mean, if you do a whole cinema with the theater with 4 6,000s or 4,000s, then you might be in a very good position to get a subwoofer, because you want the whole experience of a theater, but you also want the rumble all the way around. But you can't get that from only a theater and this, like that whole spacious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'd agree with that. I think that's why B&O suggests 28s for the back, because then you get that same depth of bass all around you. You get the same tonal balance. And while it seems silly putting high-value speakers behind you, it makes sense for that overall movie experience.
If you have a chair that swivels, you still have your stereo listening
with
your other speaker group.
Perfect. Yeah.
There's a thing from Christian Rasmussen. He says if the Beolab 28 own room compensation is sufficient, then the theater will not do anything, and that is completely wrong. The theater will not do the room compensation of the speakers, but it will do the bass management equivalent to the speakers that it can provide it to. So it doesn't matter if the compensation is right or wrong. The theater will act as a bass management thing that will provide the bass out to the equivalent speaker. So if you have a bass heavy scene on the right side, then it might turn it to the right surround to get the bass from the right surround to provide it to the right front surround. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But good question, though.
And I think Vlad's question is a good one, because I think you need to go and have a listen to the theatre again, but tell them to turn off the loudness, and then get them to give you the app and turn the bass down a little bit and turn the treble up a little bit until it matches the tone of the harmony, because you switch a harmony on and it's a nice balance for voice. You switch a theatre on, you need to change the settings. And a lot of the B&O stores, in fact, every B&O store I've been into has had the theatre setting correctly.
Yeah.
And it's been woofly and muffled. And as soon as you tweak it, it's wonderful. It's way, way better than the harmony.
Oh, the way that the guys set it up here is just terrible, man. Because like they put so much bass into it, the whole thing vibrates on the 55-inch screen. Like it just resonates. Everything's just like, why?
And that sucks.
Maybe it's my decoupled wall setup, but it really doesn't need that much more treble. It's actually like by just standard calibrating, it's pretty much in line.
Yeah, but it just needs the bass bringing down, I think.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I found that it blew me out of the box.
Yeah.
That it's really like it's. I understand that it wants to be impressive on the bass side, but I think it's too much. It's a little too much. Maybe they're going for the fan base that have really grown up only on the bass heavy sound, right? That if it doesn't move my freaking glassware, then I don't believe that this has enough power in there, and I don't give a shit how the acoustics are in it, right? There's a lot of that. I think that maybe that's the end game, because if you're going for the B&O fans and purists that have been around this product for, like myself, quarter of a century more or less as a fan, what it's supposed to sound like. Yeah. You have a certain expectation of what it's supposed to sound like, because based on your upbringing with different ages and eras of speakers and generations of tech that has gone into them, you kind of assume that this is what this would sound like. But first time I heard it, I'm like, wow, like the soundstage is okay, little, like it does have that. I think that coaxial a tweeter deal is it's its own problem, in my opinion, that it does muffle some of it. Because obviously, if you put something in front of something, it's no matter what, like there's going to be some sort of a physical obstruction.
I'm really going to have to listen more attentively now in the next few days. But so far, I just haven't heard that.
We actually have another question from Christian Rasmussen, which is a very, very, very good point. He asked about the room compensation on the Beolab 28s. And of course, you need to do the room compensation on the 28s because when you add them into your B&O app, it's a standalone product that you can play music on. So of course you need to do the compensation on the 28s. Otherwise, they will sound not very good in maybe various positions that you're going to put them in. But you need to do the room compensation and not let the theater do the room compensation overall, because you are able to go into your B&O app, press music, press the Beolab 28s, and press play. So of course you need to do the room compensation on the 28s and not only let the theater do the room compensation.
But if you have the 28s wired in PowerLink, then I don't think that the room compensation make any difference to begin with, because you're using the theater.
I do agree. I think that if you connect it to a theater, it will just say, well, I'm not into that whole thing.
No, my understanding was that from the Beolab 28 manual, I thought it said that the compensation applies to all sound modes and all sources.
Yeah.
So whether it's on wired PowerLink, wireless PowerLink, streaming, it still applies.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. But then again, like if I were to have the 28s in a theater, I don't think that I would even utilize the ability of the 28s on its own, because I would have them in the PowerLink mode. So they would be already tuned with the theater, and I would tune them as a stereo pair, but the theater still would be the main driver. So the compensation in room, everything comes, all the filters would be built inside the theater, and that signal's already processed to what it's supposed to be played like from the speakers. And I don't know, like for some reason we have ours in PowerLink mode and in the store, and I hardwire them between and everything. And they do not. You can't play anything to them, even when the harmony is off.
Right.
Which is interesting.
28s?
Yes.
You should be able to.
That sounds as though they're still getting a trigger signal, or they're not dropped.
Because I could do that here.
So there is something fishy going on. So tomorrow we're taking it all apart anyway, so I'll look into it. But
I must say though, with the theater, the sound profiles change a heck of a lot more dramatically than on the harmony.
Yeah.
Like if you went from drama or movie to music, let's say, on the harmony you could hear that it pushes it out wide quite a bit more. But in terms of actual sound, besides wider soundstage, it's not that different. But on the theater, going from movie to music, there's a lot of weird rumble just not there. Like it's a lot flatter, and I think the music is more the sort of B&O curve of old, and the music is maybe more the Dolby curve of like we like some bass in there.
Just quickly going back to Herr Vagabond's comment about our ears changing with age, it's worth noting that you've got treble controls in the Beosonic tone wheel and in the treble and bass controls, but they work differently. So if you've got the issue that you're getting a bit older and you lose your high frequency, it's worth trying both of those, because if you boost the treble slider in the app for any Mozart speaker, it works at 12 kilohertz and above. But if you use the Beosonic, I think it's working from about 8 kilohertz and above. So if turning up the treble control to get you the right level sounds tinny, try tweaking the higher frequencies in the Beosonic instead, because that works from lower down the frequency range.
Am I old-fashioned that I still prefer the sort of EQ the BV10 and stuff gave you, with like treble, mid, bass, and you could just do +10 either on those three sliders? I like that a lot more than
it's
the stupid dot.
Yeah. See,
you could zoom it in and
I'm used to sort of mixing desks where you just dial in parametric EQs and you can take complete control. So anything like Beosonic that gives you a bit more flexibility,
it's nice it's there, don't get me wrong, but like the difference between the ball being there or there or there, I'd rather do treble +2, 3, whatever, mid +1, and bass maybe -2, 3 or whatever, instead of like sort of guessing where less treble and more bass.
Yeah.
Where in that do I need to be?
Mm.
And I just don't. I mean, it looks nice, but it's not functionally all that good in my experience. But
yeah. Her Vagabond's asking about what's Beosonic, so I hope that will focus. That's the tone wheel in the B&O app. It'll take me a few seconds for the latency on YouTube to catch up, and I can see.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that gives you an extra ability to tweak the tonal balance of the speakers. So it's there in some of the Beolits. It's there in the Mozart speakers.
Headphones have it.
Yeah. But,
So.
yeah, basically they're two separate trebles. You can use one, you can boost one, you can cut the other, and they work from different frequencies. The bass generally is around 120 hertz on either way, either on the slider or the Beosonic. So there's no difference whether you boost it in one or section of the app or the other, but the treble is different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth just playing around with that to find out what works for you. We had a question as well about adding a subwoofer, adding a 19, I think, which I wouldn't do it unless you've had a good bit of time with the theatre and you go, the bass isn't deep enough. It goes down to what, mid-20s hertz, 25, 26,
23
hertz. So BLAB 19 is loud and powerful, but it's not that much lower.
The only time that I would consider subwoofer with the theater or any other speaker set, really, in my experience now, putting TVs up against not walls but glass, because in apartments there's really only one wall that you have, which is now the internal core wall of the structure, and whatever rooms. But living rooms are usually 90 degrees or a solid wall of glass, and that's where that bass completely runs away outside. So that's the only place that I actually did an install the other day. Beautiful, beautiful spot. We put a set of 20s and they sounded weak. They sounded underpowered. They needed a subwoofer, for God's sakes, because all that bass is just completely, it's 9-foot ceilings, and literally from this high of a baseboard from the ground all the way to the top is all glass. And it's just, even in a freestanding position, because you got to put them in freestanding just because they are against the wall. That's not a sonically substantial wall for the bass not to go through. The treble will reflect, the bass will always go through glass, because at the end of the day, glass is very, very cold, thick liquid.
Actually, I think if you're a surround movie head like me, you could potentially go for the subwoofer. But if you are predominantly into music, like, what music goes down below 30 hertz? Next to none.
James Blunt, Limit to Your Love.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like, name 5 other tracks.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
Unless you play that day in, day out.
Yeah.
Speaking of tuning, by the way, if I understood it right, which I still have to do, which is a pain in the ass, you're not supposed to use the toggles anymore on your older B&O speakers. You're supposed to set them to freestanding.
Yeah, because then that's the
zero
frequency response. No boost, no cut on the bass.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think Penta is the exception, because on Pentas, freestanding is a boost, wall is flat, and then the corner position is a cut. But every other speaker since then yeah, freestanding would be the option.
Which makes sense, because at the end of the day, the way that they measure it in the cube, it would be freestanding, because those walls are far as shit from the speaker in each direction, man.
Yeah, 12 meters.
Yeah, so that's, you definitely, but I had no idea. That's a good point, especially for installers to remember to keep your speakers on freestanding when you're doing the theater.
Yeah, so, I mean, I tune them now with the switches as they were, which is weird because the harmony needs those switches to be set correctly. So, I mean, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'll have to get to all the 17s and whatnot and toggle the switches again. And it'll probably make a change to how stuff sounds.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're up to 4 tracks now that need
5 hertz.
Oh, 5. There you go. Lady Gaga's Just Dance. And Robin, Dancing on My Own. There's another one. We're on 7. So, yeah.
So I guess it is important.
There is a... What is his name? I can't remember. He's a Dane. Jesus Christ.
DJ Martin Jensen?
No.
Yeah. Oh, Madonna's Sorry from Confessions of a Dance Floor. That's sub 20 hertz.
Wow.
But then you have the whole Tron, the Daft Punk Tron.
Oh, love that album.
That is just amazing, and that will kill your speakers.
But yes. Are we basically saying next to nobody's heard those songs correctly then? Because unless you have 50s or 90s, you're not listening to them, right?
Or H95s will do them justice.
Yeah, but they only go to like 18 or 20.
No, they go deeper than that, because those responses give you the frequency where it's something like minus 10 dB. But if you've tweaked your bass in the EQ, they'll extend further because they're active. And the same with a lot of the Beolabs. Once you, based on the optimal profile, as soon as you tweak the bass a little bit, they're being powered, it'll boost it, and they'll actually go deeper than it says in the frequency response.
Don't try this at home, kids.
No.
That's probably why the difference between Henrik and why I don't run into the ABL as quickly as you do, Henrik, with 28s.
Probably.
Because I have them at -2, so that gives that bit more breathing room.
If you want to try something funny, just put your system at around 75, 80 and do Jason Mraz Butterflies. That's very, very funny.
I'll try that during the day tomorrow.
That is like, it's not a bassy, but it's punchy as.
Yeah.
It will.
Will it get the dust out of my 50s?
I'll
just stand there with a vacuum machine on.
I did it when I had the 50s, and it is at the end point of where the 50s is. Oh, this is a very, very good speakers, because it's not about how much power you can push the driver out with, but it's how much power you can draw it back with. And that specific number, Jason Mraz Butterflies, will do that snappy stuff, and it's just very, very nicely to listen to the 50s and 90s, especially on that number.
I'll do that tomorrow.
I'll write it in the chat.
I can't do that on Sunday evening with neighbors.
I think the question in chat was if you can connect the shape as the rear's channels or any channels for the theater.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, you can do that, but I think the limitation on the shape is you can only do one amplifier per power link, so four speaker drivers off of one, right?
Yeah, for each channel. So personally, I wouldn't want to have a huge shape anyway as a single stereo channel. I'd split it into smaller shapes with an amplifier on each, and then feed each amp back, because then you can have several of them around the room, each one giving you 1 amp, 4 speakers as a stereo output.
That's right. And you can hide an extra amp in the wall and put some in the ceiling for Atmos, just the speakers themselves.
Except don't put the amplifier in the ceiling section.
That's what I'm saying. You can put an extra amp on the wall and just run the cables up. Yeah, but don't put the don't put the amp upside down.
Really make one of those shapes, literally in the shape.
It'd be cool.
Speakers, and then they literally go up the wall.
Once I move to Florida, permanently find something, I'm gonna definitely do that. I don't know if I'll do the shape on the ceiling, but I think I'm gonna do at least the heights like you have with the lap 4s, because I like those speakers. Maybe I'll do them as height channels in the back.
Yeah, because you
do the 90s as height rear.
Oh yeah, hang them off the ceiling, right?
Yes.
But
I mean, I would highly suggest height speakers, especially if you have a theater.
Yeah.
I mean, that capability is very, very pleasant. I mean, it was already good on the harmony, but just now, once the channels are actually properly coded into the source material, it's so nice to have.
The difference is that you have the codec now.
Yeah.
It's not just an upmix.
I wanted to talk a bit about the codec while we have you here, but I've seen some people sort of say, like, they expected more from Atmos, and it's so hard to fight against this stupid marketing of Atmos is hide speakers. And apparently people said, like, they went to a dealer and you didn't hear much Atmos effect. And it's like, just because it's in an Atmos codec doesn't mean that your high channels are doing...
You will not be able to have the right listening of an Atmos track compared to a DTS HDMA 7.1 comparison at a dealership. That will never happen. I mean, you need to sit down and really enjoy the movie and listen to the movie. And you can't do that at a dealership. When you're at a dealership, you listen to performance, you listen to the width and the girthiness of the sound, and not you don't specific listen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But also, like, the Queen We Will Rock You, it's not like the drummer comes from the ceiling all of a sudden.
No, and it shouldn't.
No. But I think so many people think Atmos, therefore I must hear stuff coming from above. But it's like, it's just a container. It, like, you can have it in the Atmos container and still have no height effects.
So if you take a everyday life, if you walk down the street, what would you listen to above? A plane and a chopper, maybe. If you live in New York City, you'll hear some screaming lady at 28th floor, and you'll hear that from above you as well. But I mean, it's not that much sound. It's only the spaciousness that you should listen to from above. And of course, a audio engineer can go full retard on a movie like Top Gun, where the airplane goes from this to this and backwards and all the way around. And of course, you should be able to listen to that on top, but it doesn't make sense. But it gives you the idea of this is just wow.
Yeah. No, a lot of people, like, I've had clients that made me put their systems in the speaker 4 because that was surround to them. I'm like, what do you mean speaker 4? Like, like, if I'm listening to the news, it should come out from all the speakers. I'm like, and where in real practical life that actually happens?
Yeah.
You have 3 clones and they all sit on.
Yeah, everyone's like, I'm like, no, man, it comes from the damn center channel, dude. That's where it's coming from. That you can't have any effects otherwise. Like, how are you going to how to watch movies in speaker 4, for the love of God?
I mean, we have a lot of
something. It's not that bad.
We have a lot of people that want us to use Atmos on sports, and Atmos on a football stadium would be just like rumble, like people singing, like in echoing.
Yeah,
and that's it. But it will give you the ability to feel that you're on stadium, right?
Oh yes,
and that's what it's supposed to be used for. But there is a total different thing, and that is the object-based stuff between 2 speakers. And that is the biggest part of Atmos comparing to DTS HDMA and Dolby True HD, which is the equivalent, which is the ability to be between 2 speakers without really being between 2 speakers, because you can't do that with discrete channels. And that is amazing. And when you have listened to a very good produced movie in Atmos, compare it to the Dolby True HD or DTS HDMA, whatever, you will hear the difference.
Yeah.
And it is a big difference.
Yeah. My understanding was that the idea of Atmos, this object-based processing, came out of gaming, where you might have a gunshot that's a mono sound, but it might come from behind you or behind you to one side or above you. So you take that same mono track, but you give the ability to process it anywhere in the sound sphere, depending on your requirements.
And somehow marketing has made it's height speakers, and they reflect off ceilings and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's apparently in phones as well. You can get the new LG phone with Dolby Atmos. And it's
Mine has a Dolby Atmos, bitch. It's an old Samsung S10. 4 years. I've had Dolby Atmos for 4 years on my headphones.
But the thing is that Dolby Atmos is just a codec.
It's a gimmick, though. It's a word.
Like you have a laptop that is Dolby capable. It doesn't mean that it will give you a center channel and 2 surrounds. It means that it's able to decode the Dolby codec to produce it into a 2 speaker stereo perspective. And that's the same with Atmos. Atmos is everything from 1 mono channel to, I think, 96 channels.
Which, speaking of Atmos and all this crazy nonsense, one thing that I find absolutely impressive is transparency mode on these headphones. Like, talk about fucking object-based audio. Like, you can sit literally and hear the conversation like there's exactly over there, or with the traffic, like walking around Montreal with these headphones. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Like, you are the same aware that you have them on if you don't have them on. Like, there's a little bit difference because you get more bass, I guess, in your head. But even like walking around here,
your girlfriend goes, hello, all of a sudden.
But it's absolutely insane how well that works. That the spatial awareness that you are, and there is only 4 microphones, I guess, or 2 microphones on each. So yeah, I'm very impressed by it.
Yeah, interesting. Harold's comment that the playing music through the theatre with Lab 90s didn't sound as good as playing it straight into the 90s, and I guess that makes sense for music, but I'm going to have to try that out. B&O Nottingham have got 90s alongside their theatre, so I've so far just listened to their theatre on its own. So yeah, I'm going to have to go back and see how that compares.
Yeah, but it also depends on. This is something I haven't yet seen in the B&O app for the theatre, is that level matching, for instance. It could be something as simple as that, as your external source is just louder.
Yeah. And are you using 2.1 to give it out directly as 1-to-1 to the speakers? Or are you having the theater into the equivalent of the 90s? And as...
when using the theater, so yeah.
He says that not 2.0, so that means that the theater is in the system?
Yeah.
Then
so
that makes sense.
Music. I would just have the 90s playing.
That's right.
And then bring the theater in for movies.
I think anything you put between the 90s doesn't matter what it is. I think that it automatically brings their performance down.
I wouldn't do it with the 50s either.
No.
Or the 28s.
They're too accurate.
Or the 28s.
Depends on how far away it is, though.
Yes.
I mean, if it's
but I would.
If they're like there, no. But if they're like there, then yes.
But then again, when you've got 50s or 90s or 28s, I say you build your room around them. You put them where you want them to be, to have your music right.
I thought that was obvious, and that's what we all did. We live around B&O, not the other way around.
I honestly, that's how I would choose my apartment. It's like, priority is where the 90s go, and is there enough room between them? If there is enough room between them, then B is how wide is the wall in the bedroom so I can put my shape up again.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the thing. When you put that investment and that much interest and care into choosing your speakers, get them in the right place, and then the imaging is best when there's nothing else playing from stereo music. Just put those 2 speakers on. Let them sing. Anything else will detract from it. And then movies, put all the speakers on, all the toys in the bath, everything, and.
Another slight annoyance with the theater is, like, when coming from the Harmony anyway, is if you press the TV button, if you then did nothing, eventually the TV would come on. If you do that with the theater, you have to click OK for live TV to start.
That's nice.
Because otherwise nothing happens.
Well, that's amazing.
Why?
Because it's fucking stupid that every time you push the TV button, the TV turns on before I choose my content.
I'm in 2 minds of that. I kind of like that because generally...
Oh, I hate it.
And a thing that still isn't there, you can't, or I haven't figured it out, I can't fucking find it. You can't change which source sits where in the remote.
Oh, to edit that. Yeah, that's what feels bad.
So can't you edit that like you can do that on the stage?
No.
Yeah, then you just choose none for the list.
Nope.
That is just a matter of time.
I hope so, because it's fucking annoying.
Well, but it's like, I hate to say it, but it's like everything with new BNO, right? There's going to be always a little bit of a kink. You know what I mean? The shirt's not going to be completely ironed. There's always going to be some that needs touching up. And quite honestly, for how well it works and what's out now, kudos to them. Because usually
it's nowhere near as beta as the first Eclipse was.
Usually it's a goddamn garbage fire for first month at least, right? Like it's fuck me. Like I remember the BB14s, the Eclipse.
Sell this stuff. Be a bit more positive.
That's what I am. I'm like, this is awesome. You can actually sell this and not worry about the fact that you're going to get a phone call on Friday night that I don't know what happened, but the remote doesn't turn the TV on anymore.
Mm.
Oh yeah, go push the magic blue button underneath where is that? Oh, for the love of Christ, right? Like that was a pain in the ass, man. With the Eclipse. Plus, then it was impossible to roll it on the gateway, which was another piss off to me because I'm like, the entire house is automated, and what do you mean this doesn't talk to it? So, but theater, I think that they got it out of the park 95%.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It feels a bit beta, but nowhere near as bad as the Eclipse was.
Yeah. So, to me, it's just like, and quite honestly, I think that there's only so much that you can put into it before you actually throw it in the real world and get, the plethora of speaker combinations, different networks that these things sit on. And it's just, you know what I mean? The product's always a garbage fire. They are always a garbage fire, but you put it out. Fuck. You don't let it burn.
No, so yeah, I mean, another thing that you, or at least I haven't figured out a way to do it, is volume match sources. Like in the Harmony, you could go to like my Netflix is louder, let's say, and minus 1.5 dB compared to TV source or upper TV source.
Yeah,
as of right now, I can't find where to do that at all.
You can't. It's a Mozart thing. There's no level control at all between sources.
And will that ever be the case?
Do you think that's just a limitation that they don't or haven't addressed yet, or something that it's not likely or possible to address?
I've asked it when the balance came out with the UI team because there was a specific issue of line input on the balance. You needed to be able to, previously on ASE, you could set it to unity gain, put a power link input and use the external device for volume, and there was oh yeah that's interesting, but there's been no change at all in terms of level matching on inputs, audio or video. So we need it, but
on a TV product it's arguably more important because I mean you switch sources more often.
Yeah,
and I mean if you go from TV that's kind of quiet, so you set it to volume 50 and then Netflix comes on.
Yes. Yeah. So unless there's anything in the LG side, but certainly in the Mozart side,
it's not. Yeah.
That would be a great addition. So B&O, if you're listening, I hope you are. Yeah, that would be great to be able to have level matching of different sources on audio and video.
But there's a lot of things that's missing in the app compared to what we're used to from the Beosystem 4 systems, right?
Yeah.
And from the Harmony and
it's also way different, and it's not in logical places. It's very strange.
Yeah.
It's hard to get used to because you've worked one way for like 15-20 years, and now it's like there was a logic to it, like, and now it's illogical, quite literally, because you have places where you set up your speakers, but that's not where you finalize setting up speakers and or roles and or distances, and and that's also not where you get your speaker information. And it's like, why is this like this? This is annoying.
But I think that we're in this loop that this is the new platform that they wanted to roll out the product. They were okay with the software. Now they just need to tweak it.
Yes. Oh, don't get me wrong. It's a very good product. I'm still happy with the Switch. It's just
I think within the next 3 months you will get an update.
There's going to be for sure.
Twice a month.
There have been. I looked at the release notes yesterday, and there was one every 2 weeks or so for the last 3 months.
Yeah, you'll see some
because it's software version 2.3.2 already. So
it's just a matter of time. And please, everybody, just chip in. If you have an issue, write it in through the application, through the app from your phone or iPad or whatever you use. Write in what you need, and I guess they will try to make it work.
Yeah, they're quite good at that, and they're quite responsive.
I mean, the guys on the other end, I talked a lot with one of them, and he's the head of something with the app, whatever, and he listens a lot to what we say. So yeah, just chip in.
I mean, if he's listening right now, I would still, and I've asked this for a while now, but this is a general app thing. This was for the Harmony too. I would very much like the sound info to be in under the equalizer or sound settings or whatever, where you can see what codec is currently playing and how it's allocated out. Because it's I know it's gimmicky, but a lot of people, I think, like to look at it like, ooh, I'm actually playing something Atmos. And then you go look and like, ooh, it's actually playing Atmos. And ooh, it's actually using all my speakers.
Yeah.
You don't just go around and listen to each speaker if it's on?
No, but it also tells you if true image is being used, or if it's 1-to-1, or if it's up or down mixing, that sort of thing. And it just seems to me...
let them figure out the order with the menu first before you start nitpicking.
No, but I've asked... This is a general thing. Like, I've asked this for the stage, for the Harmony, too.
But the stage does this.
Yes, but it's not under... it's not that it doesn't show it. It's that it's in a weird place. It's under the triple dots, right? Like, yeah,
it sucks.
It's that it's in a weird place because it's not where you expect it to be. Because it doesn't show anything of relevance, but nor is the loudness button really. That's a setup.
They should have a menu point called sound, and within sound you should have equalizer and whatever, and then you should have sound.
Exactly that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I asked for. Like, I don't know, 6-9 months ago, and it's like, ooh, interesting, we'll think about it. And okay, I guess the answer is no.
I will I haven't thought about this. I will try to roll with that ball. Let's say that.
Yeah, because it's of no importance to how stuff functions, but it's nice to know, and people will check it.
And it shouldn't be under configuration anyways.
No, and it doesn't do anything other than show you what's going on. It's just a stat.
Yeah, I agree. I will. I actually have to talk with the guy behind the user experience in the app next week. So I will talk with him about it.
Good. They need feedback, because otherwise nothing's gonna get fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of things get fixed. I mean, they have been very, very awesome the past 6 months, 12 months, in my opinion.
Yes. Oh, in terms of actual setup of the theater itself, it was a breeze. It was so much easier than like 28s or something like that. Like, it literally, oh, we found your network. Oh, could you put in the password? Okay, we're done. Do you want to continue? It's like, and next. Like, it was so smooth.
Smooth operator.
Whereas the 28 was, oh, we haven't found your other speaker yet. And then you go like, okay, I'll exit out of this. Oh, we found your other speaker. But it can't. It's like, get there. Ah. And this was like, oh, yeah, it's all fine. Whatever. Let's go. I mean, it found, you know where you add a product, it immediately said theater nearby. You click on it. It's like, would you like to search for Wi-Fi? Yes. Okay. No. Well, that was done in like a minute. And then it had a bunch of updates, but that wasn't that long.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually kind of pleasant sailing in terms of initial setup. And then after that, it was the weirdness of adding speakers and that sort of thing. But the product by itself is pretty good, actually. I mean, it is very bassy out of the box, so I wouldn't recommend not calibrating it. I mean, it's even more bassy when it's uncalibrated. It's I think lighter, but to a similar extent what you had with 50s and how 50s come out of the box, where there's this massive bass hump in there that's like, why?
But I think that's there so that then the calibration effectively cuts frequencies that are a problem, so that it's just a little bit higher bass level to start with, and then it's going to bring
little bit higher on the 50s. Is like plus 12 dB at from 25 to 35 hertz or something.
They're not in BLM5 mode, are they?
No,
because there is an option to give them that bass boost that the 5s had.
No, I mean, I told the story like a year and a half ago. They added the option to reset them after a software update, and where you wouldn't lose your presets. So I unclick the wipe presets thing and reset them. Well, it wiped everything, and this was obviously on a Friday night and or Saturday night or something, and my dealer's closed on Sunday, Monday, so I could only. But on volume 30, watching Match of the Day, the stomping in the stadium was. It's like I had to put them to like -6 in the speaker configuration, because the voices and everything was fine and like night mode, but the bass was so enormous it was like somebody stomping on the floor.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know how 90s are out of the box, but 50s are silly bassy out of the box.
90s weren't that bassy. I actually kept them. I kept the original calibrations, the narrow, wide, and omni mode. I never touched them on my speakers. I just added more filters, and I did it just for not the shits and giggles, but to actually have a A/B comparison to, okay, how much do these improve what my room does to the sound? And it's significant. I would definitely say it's significant. And if you do think of it, I would honestly, if you get a new set of speakers like 50s or 90s, I would don't override, tune more, and after a month of listening to them, go back to the default, and you'll see how much there is actually acoustical difference. Because once you get used to that proper sound image that you have, or the acoustic imprint of your room, and then you go back to what the factory, what those little rooms sounded in Denmark, is a significant difference.
Yeah, the 50s start to sing space. Once calibrated. It's probably similar for the 90s.
But I found them, they were like out of the box, because I've lived with them untuned for the first few months, because I refused to buy the stupid XLR tuning board with the, like, it was a lot of steps in order to get them tuned, and I'm like, well, why would I piss about when I have the welcome package microphone, and I'll just wait a few months? And well, it was almost 7 months before the software came out.
That's rapid.
So it did it and then I tuned them, and I was, holy shit, what a big difference there was. And then I didn't even have them wired yet. I just did them with the WISA. And then once I wired them together, and then you go between the narrow mode factory and the narrow mode tune, wow, like there is a lot that these speakers fix in the sound of what this room does to the entire image. So, and I also, I don't know if it's the laziness in people here that I find. Like I've gone through a couple, installations where there's 90s and 50s and such, and it's only tuned in one position. Why? Like I did when I was doing my 90s, and I did the 90s for the client here that moved. Well, I spent 3 hours tuning the fucking speakers. But I went basically center of the room, front of the room, back of the room, and then back of the room where they're going to sit. I would go from center and then left and right positions. So more and more not more and more tunes you run, the better the filters get built for the entire space.
Yeah.
And then I did him the narrow mode where we can just sit and just freaking really dive into it, right?
That's one thing that's also nice about the theater, as in the distances and stuff that is shown in the app, right? Like that's literally to wherever you position the microphone. So if I haven't done it yet, but if I were to put it in this chair, it'll give you the optimal surround / Atmos experience for that chair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is kind of amazing, because with the harmony, you couldn't dynamically switch like that, really. It was generally you set the distances for the optimal position and then sort of changed a bit. But now the whole speaker selection you have sort of switches to a different position in the beamforming tech and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just one comment. Impressive days in terms of tech for this, and I'm sure it'll get better. It's actually not bad. There's just some quirks, and some of them are LG.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Harold Hansen has a comment that says another impression addition in '90s was that they seemed weird lack of bass compared to my fives, which can be. It's not. I had fives in my apartment versus the 90s, and I dislike the sound of the fives because they fire downwards, and there's just way less accuracy in the bass reproduction completely because they're just sloppy. That's just, let's face the music here, no pun intended. But when you get into the 90s, like that bass is shut down immediately because there's no flop there. It's very accurate, and it does not transfer into the floor, which is what that sensation of a huge rumble you get is. It's the same thing, that's why the 28s are very Beolab 5-ish in my ears and feel, because when you sit there, they do push into the ground where, you have 137 kilos per speaker. They're not freaking moving shit.
Also, don't forget forget tonal accuracy. In terms of response accuracy, fives put bass into things that isn't meant to be there. 50s and 90s only play what's requested.
Yes.
So if it's going to be, they'll only do that, where fives will make the.
So, and also it's when it takes a while, not while, but to me it took a little bit to actually get used to listening to the 90s.
Yes.
Because you hear so much in the music that some of it, like Love Thieves by Depeche Mode, they put this buzz. I always thought my speakers were fucked. I was listening to them on the earphones. There's got to be a hair touch in the driver, right? Like it's just no, it's in the music.
Yeah,
it's purposely put there, and you find so many intricacies and these little details that never existed before. So for me, it's, I guess, be careful what you wish for. But when I first got them, I'm like, shit, I hope to Christ I can be locked out in my house for a few months with these. And then the pandemic came in and I went through my entire CD collection, right? So,
I mean, coming from Beolab 1s with a Beolab 2 to 50s, I initially had sort of like, they don't have a lot of bass. But then you sort of realize if you put the correct track on where the bass is actually called for, it'll play it all day long and way louder and way more. It just doesn't play it when it's not asked for.
Yeah.
It doesn't do what's not there.
So. Yeah, and with a Lab 2, that's just jumping around like, let's make everything shake all the time.
That's right.
It's just... the difference in lack of bass, what you're hearing, is probably actually the more accurate reproduction of what was intended.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean there's any lack of bass, because the 90s will go way more in bass than 5s ever could, even with smaller drivers. Like, turn it up loud with like that "We Will Rock You" thing, because that's how the theater was demoed to me initially, with 90s and 28s.
But
And
they
like,
have been using that track for the past 2 years.
I know, but the dude
enough.
put it up to like
I hate
85
it.
volume or something, and it's like I felt my t-shirt move. It's
I
like,
just hate
fuck
it.
me.
I hate it. Get something new, B&O.
I know that's the same thing. Like they killed the lap 5s for me with the Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing, for the love of God, right? Like, come on. You know, every speaker has its
They use the same
song
thing over and over and over. I'm not saying that they should change every week, but just get some new stuff into the content.
I can't deal with the bird on the wire, and I understand that.
No.
But just, man, I would shoot that bird with whatever I got handy, man. I swear to God, it's off the wire. It's off the wire.
And then
get that bird off.
If you go to a B&O dealer right now, it's the Queen, "We Will Rock You," it's the A Star Is Born, and the James Bond, and it's just like, get something new, please.
Thank God we don't have any of that you named. But we have like whatever the demo disc is, and there is a couple a cutscene from Superman. Like there's a whole bunch, right? Like I already know like at what point we are at what time.
Ask for the USB stick from the Beosound stage, because there's part of The Hobbit on there where like that Smaug goes like and fire and shit. I mean, I know that because that's how my YouTube video got pulled, because Warner Brothers said I didn't have the license, even though B&O paid for it, and then they blocked it worldwide. It's like, you bastards.
Should have Warner Brother, bro.
Well, I can sue them, but I'm not going to win. We're going to be in bloody court for years.
Yeah, no, they're just going to roll you in there forever and ever.
Well, we didn't get to 50 likes, so no peel. So,
touche.
Was it 30 likes for appeal?
No, it was 50.
Yeah.
It was 50. It should have been 83 for each freaking inch.
But yeah, my head hurts like crazy, so I'm gonna call it for tonight. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining. Thank you, Steve. Links are
Always
down
a pleasure.
below. Thank you, Henrik. Links are down below. Willie just has Instagram, but that's also down below. And
sad
very
state of affairs.
Yeah.
That's right.
And anyway, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. Join their channels too, and we will see you tomorrow or next week, and we'll see where we end up. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.